Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. I've talked with you previously about rebounding from disappointment. For example, something called bouncing back. You can Google that in the word Nemko, and even a poem about disappointment. But some people learn best when advice is embedded in a context. So here is a composite story. Howard applied to designer label graduate schools, but ended up admitted only to his safe school. He applied for cool jobs, but landed only fair to middling ones. He tried to find the girl of his dreams, but ended up with the girl of his realities. He hoped his kids would be awesome, but they turned out pretty much average. And now Howard is 65 and just left the doctor's office with a warning that he needed to lose 30 pounds for real. So as he drove home, he contemplated his life, which was far more over than had time left to come. But after just a minute of woulda, coulda, shoulda reverie, he snapped himself to attention and thought, what the hell can I do now? Today, tomorrow, this week, this month, other than go on the damn diet? Howard decided to be nicer to his wife. For example, assiduously clean up, but asked that in exchange she be nicer to him. For starters, really listen to his brainstormings. He wanted to give himself more pleasure, but found that harder than he expected. He thought about getting a new car, but decided that would yield less benefit than was worth the cost and risk to his financial security. Besides, his wife would resent it. You tell me to watch my spending and then you go and buy a new car when the old one runs perfectly well? Howard thought about doing some traveling, but decided against it as well, feeling that the motive for doing the traveling was more a should than a want. Besides, whatever positive thoughts he had about travel were colored by selective memory of past vacations. And, to his chagrin, images presented in commercials. For example, a couple in pre-orgasmic ecstasy as they cavort in preternaturally blue water without a sign of a raindrop, let alone a mosquito. The best pleasure enhancer that Howard could come up with was simply to spend a little more time on his existing hobbies: photography, building model rockets, baking, and watching videos on YouTube. Maybe surprisingly, Howard decided to work more hours per week. Notwithstanding society's lauding work-life balance, Howard derived greater pleasure, a sense of contribution, and yes, money, by spending discretionary hours working. And yes, he would try to lose the weight and keep it off. How? No fancy systems. He would just try to stay conscious when he was hungry until he no longer felt hungry, not until he was full, let alone stuffed, and then at that moment force himself, yes, force himself to stop eating. At age 70, Howard felt overall that his life was okay. Sure, there were moments of, is that all there is? Those occasionally intruded into his mind, but more often he felt some gratitude that it could be far worse. The following tips were embedded in that story. Wallowing in your life's past woes is likely to be less pleasurable, let alone efficacious, than forcing, yes, forcing yourself to get distracted by asking yourself, what's my next baby step forward? We can decide to be nicer. Key is to identify specific things you want to be nicer about and to remain vigilant. Adding pleasure to your life will more likely derive from doing more of the activities you already enjoy than to try something new or buy something expensive. Today, the normative exhortation is to work less. We even pathologize hard workers as, quote, workaholic, implying it's akin to alcoholic. Rather than succumb to the herd's wishes, do what you think is wise for you. The best system for behavior change is often the simplest one, because you're more likely to keep it top of mind, plus you won't get bogged down by some burdensome protocol. Sometimes forcing yourself, which has a bad reputation, is what is required to push yourself to do what you believe is, although not fun, wise. And finally, unhelpful thoughts will intrude. That's okay. Just try to quietly banish them, replacing them with constructive thoughts such as gratitude and the aforementioned, what's my next baby step forward? In any case, I'm Marty Nemko. Thank you for watching. Feel free to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you need to. Comments, share, Subscribe to my channel. And in any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.